Hello, my name's Belinda Colleen, and I run this channel to talk about reselling on eBay specifically. And today, what I'd like to discuss is something that people have asked me: what should I sell? Should I sell clothes? Should I sell electronics? Should I sell collectibles? And, that's been something I've been considering for the last 2 years. What do I want to sell? What do I not want to sell? And why? But I know the most about clothes because I really, probably 90% of the things that I sell are clothing. And then I'll pick up occasional other things too. And I really do enjoy selling a few other things because I think it's interesting. But the pros and the cons of clothing are pretty equal, actually. And I think it ends up becoming a decision based on what you enjoy and your personality, and even perhaps your sourcing uh, choices, that type of thing. Let's go over the pros first, just to be positive, and then we'll start talking about some of the reasons some people decide not to sell clothes. One of the main reasons I think selling clothing is fun and not as difficult as working in other areas is that it's plentiful. It's everywhere. Everybody's got clothes. Everybody's got a box of clothes in the attic, in the basement. We have clothes that we've outgrown. We have clothes that we took the Ozempic and we lost weight, and now the clothes are huge on us. Uh, all of this. And for that reason, I think there's just an awful lot of clothes out there, and they're accessible. They're not, I will say this: as more and more people get into reselling, and as people like Goodwill start competing with us, they cherry pick a lot of the good stuff out and turn around and uh, put it online sometimes. So there's maybe less great things less great low hanging fruit than there used to be. Um, so we might have to get a little more creative in our sourcing, but there's still tons of clothes out there to be found. The other reason I like selling clothes is that I think it'll work in any economy because it's a necessity. I mean, people may not buy a collectible they want, or they're not going to replace their, uh, kitchenware, or, things that are something you might only buy once or twice in your lifetime. That's a harder sell. And especially if the economy gets shaky and people get nervous. Sometimes people are doing well, but they're just still nervous. So because of the mental, um, anxiety that they have about the economy, they will not buy anything that they don't need. And for this reason, I think clothes still does well because it is a necessity. You know, I always buy clothes. Sometimes I will say, okay, not going to buy anything else because I'm going to save for this or save for that. But I always buy clothes because it's so personal, and I want to feel good and look good, and I want to, when I go somewhere, I want to look nice, and I might want something new just to feel jazzy about it, maybe a party or whatever. Or you've always got your weddings and you've got your birthday parties and you've got your funerals. Unfortunately, we need clothes for all of these occasions. And if you have business meetings or if you're still working in an office setting, you need clothes, and they wear out. Shoes wear out, or they just, aren't as comfortable as you thought they would be, or whatever. And you spill things on them. I mean, for me, I love white blouses, but honestly, I can't seem to keep a white blouse for longer than a year, even if I wear it only a few times, because something's going to jump onto that blouse at some point. I already know I can't eat spaghetti when I wear a white blouse. That's just crazy. But let's face it, especially right here, they call this like the spill area. Whether you're wearing a white blouse or you're a man with a tie on, which I don't know how many guys wear ties, but I know some still do, or whatever, you're going to spill on your clothes at some point, whether you like it or not, even if you're so careful. So, for all these reasons, people will always be buying clothes. Even the most frugal people will splurge and buy clothes. And the frugal people will buy them on eBay and Poshmark and Depop and all the others because they want a good deal, but they still want quality. And that is the good news, is that you can get such a great deal on eBay. And I don't know about you, but I'd much rather buy a high quality piece that's gently used, because I can wash and dry clean anything, right? Than turn around and buy fast fashion or some junk that isn't going to hold up. Because I want to, if I'm going to spend the money, I want it to last as long as it can. So because it's a necessity, I would say that's definitely in the pros column for reselling clothes. Um, oh, the third one of my favorites. It's easy to ship. I just put them in poly mailers. Even the fanciest clothes, sometimes depending, like if it's leather or like some real delicate fabric, I might put a double packing around it in the poly bag just in case something sharp hits it or whatever. But I feel pretty comfortable using poly bags, and that keeps the shipping price down and also just makes it easy. It makes it easy. I don't have to have boxes to send clothes in typically. Now, the only exception to that might be shoes. Certain shoes, like I'm still touring with the idea, but I'm okay. I've decided I'm okay shipping tennis shoes. As long as I wrap them really good on the inside and then put them in a poly bag, I can ship tennis shoes in a poly bag. But I'm not going to ship anything that's leather or that's got a heel, especially women's heels or anything like that, because I feel like they're a little fragile and all it's going to take is something weird to happen in a poly bag and it might ruin the shoes. So I tend to still lean, except for like slippers or something unusual, I'm going to probably use a box for my shoes. So that's the one area where I end up looking for boxes a lot. The other thing that I think makes clothing a natural category for almost everybody is that we all have some knowledge about it, even if we aren't into clothes, so to speak. I mean, I love clothes. I find it fun and I enjoy fashion. Um, so for that reason, I enjoy buying clothes and watching trends and following trends, and just I find it interesting and fun. Um, but I think everybody can sell clothes, and with just a little bit of help online or whatever, you can follow the trends and find out what's going on with clothes. The only thing that I hear people say sometimes, like some people just don't enjoy them, and there are higher profit margins sometimes on maybe certain other categories. And I get that because the profit margins can be low with clothes, but they can also be high depending on what you're buying exactly. I mean, you can always niche down and, instead of buying clothes for, men or clothes for women, you can always buy, clothes for 20 something women, or you can buy plus size clothes, or you can buy preppy clothes. I mean, a lot of people do niche down and they find that makes it easier for them to keep up with everything. But the knowledge based thing, I think, makes everybody comfortable because we all wear clothes. So because we all wear clothes, everybody has some basic foundation of knowledge of clothes. Number 5 reason, the 5th reason for definitely considering clothes is something that you want to sell is that they're easy to store for the most part. I mean, with the exception of shoes. Shoes are harder to store because they're bulkier and bigger and everything like that. But as far as everything else, it's amazing, how many women's tops you can get in a storage box, or how many pairs of jeans or slacks or whatever. So with that in mind, I mean, compared to most things, excluding maybe baseball cards or videos or something like that that's small, I think clothes are one of the easiest things to store in bulk. And for that reason, I really like clothes. Now, I have decided that using trendy the fact that there's so much trendiness in clothes is both a pro and a con, depending on how you view it and how involved you want to be in staying on top of that. I see it as a pro because it means that people are going to keep buying clothes. I mean, believe me, these retailers and designers, they know how to keep people coming back to the stores or shopping. They change the trends all the time, and nobody wants to look like a fuddy-duddy, like they don't know what the trends are. I mean, God forbid, now that mom jeans are practically back in, but for a while it was like when the skinny jeans were all the rage and the low rise, if you had on mom jeans, people made fun of you. Most people, to a degree, will try to stay up with the trends. And because of that, there will always be people buying new clothes. That's another reason, besides the fact that they wear out, that clothes will always be something people will be purchasing on all income levels, for that matter. So trendiness is a positive if you're willing to stay up with the trends. Okay, now next, this is the part we don't like, is the cons. What are the cons of selling clothes? And oh my goodness, I know these by heart. And I didn't want to start with them because I thought I might go on. And I don't want to do that because I have made a definite decision to sell clothes because I think the pros are much greater than the cons. And because of my personality, I think it suits me. But so, number one con, and everybody brings this up, people talk about it, is people return them when they don't fit. It's not like selling, a frying pan. There's a chance that in every transaction that it won't fit. So, of course, the number one thing that you have to do as a seller, and you can be proactive with this to keep the returns to a minimum. I would say the first thing is do measurements. I did not start off doing measurements, and that was a big mistake of mine, but I quickly caught on to that one and started doing measurements. But that's part of it. That's one of the biggest negatives with clothes, is that there's always a chance that they won't fit, or there's always a chance they'll say they don't fit and they'll wear them to an occasion or something. That is the reason, even though there's a lot of money to be made with wedding dresses and formal wear and party, extreme party wear or whatever, I do not buy that stuff because I think you're just asking for a return. I mean, I know most people are honest, but if you're, that type of wear costs more. And if you're selling wedding dresses, I mean, I've heard women say they are making a fortune selling wedding dresses, but there's a good chance you'll get a return because that woman's never going to wear that dress again, probably. Well, not the same one anyway. She might have another wedding, let's face the facts, but she's not going to wear that dress. So, and even the bridesmaids and the people attending the wedding that wear formal wear, most people, like I said, I think are honest, but there are always some people trying to game the system, and they think, well, I'll wear it and I'll return it. I mean, we've all heard the stories about how people will go shopping and hide the tags when they wear whatever the item is and then take it back. I personally find that immoral, but who am I to judge? Everybody's got their reasoning. So something to think about. And so things you can do, like I said, one of the things, when I say a con, I'm going to tell you some ways you can prevent it or minimize it. And one of them is taking measurements. And the other one I just mentioned is not buy the type of clothing that is the most likely to be returned after one wear. And I'm talking about, the formal wear. And I would stay away from the types of clothing, and I haven't been true to this myself, but I'm starting to see this, and I'm pulling away from jeans, especially women's jeans, not men's jeans, because men don't wear their jeans as tight as women do. But with women's jeans are so specific, and women are so very picky, and it's okay. I'm not beating up on women because I'm the same way about the way their jeans fit, that I think I'd just rather stay away from jeans. There's too many ways it cannot fit. It's one of the most specific items, I think. tops, a lot of them, especially now, the boho and stuff, they're very flowy. Um, but there's just no margin for error with jeans in most women. And like I said, I'm totally cool to selling men's jeans, but with women's, it's like, I don't know. So that I'm trying to back out of the jeans. I've still got some, and I'll probably still keep them up for sale unless I have another return or two, in which case I might just take them and I'll donate them. So another way that you can keep your returns down is to sell more men's clothes, or you can sell men's clothes exclusively for that matter. And men love to shop online. I know men that won't set foot in any kind of department store or any kind of store at all. They don't like to shop. When they need something, they go online and they just buy it. And they're much less likely to return. I did my own little study of my items, and compared to women's items, men they're not returning their clothes. I think they just don't return clothes. Now, it's funny, I don't return clothes usually. I mean, unless it's something really weird that I get a little bit angry about, like if I were to order a pair of jeans and they sent me a pair of shorts, I'd probably return that because I'd be irritated by the whole thing. But if it's just a little off or something, I'll probably just keep it and I'll just donate it. I don't like to do returns, and and even now I don't like to do returns, even though I'm at the post office every day. I just don't like to do returns, and I never have. Also, I think one way to keep your returns down, and this is just a little bit of a guess on my part, but I have noticed that the higher priced things that I sell are more likely to be returned. I think the more money people spend on things, the more they're like, this isn't perfect. This isn't exactly what I wanted. And I've also had some people try to get me to do partial refund, but they didn't want to return the item, which that's a whole nother thing, the partial refund thing. It irritates me. But I think there's a lot of people out there that's their way of trying to beat you down on the price. But then when you say, well, just return it, they say, oh, no, we like it. We just want a break because we saw a spot, or we saw, it's happened on shoes a couple of times, and it makes me think shoes might be in this category more. They don't want to return it. And if they don't want to return it, you got to wonder why, but they want money back. And I think it almost feels a little bit like extortion sometimes. But I've made a new rule in my life. And even though I take a hit on it, and financially, I don't want people thinking they can do that. And I know a lot of sellers just say, keep it. But I think that just encourages this behavior. So I'm like, okay, send it back. I don't do partial refunds. If you don't want the item and it doesn't fit, or there's a spot or whatever, send it back and I'll give you a full refund, because I do 30-day full refunds. So it's funny how that works. I've had that's worked in my favor a few times, where they just kept it and they just left me alone, and they didn't give me bad feedback because I said return it, and because I do have a 30-day no questions asked refund policy. Just turn it in, and then I pay for shipping both ways, which means I get clobbered on the money side of it. But fortunately, I don't have that many returns. I know we all take them to heart, and of course, it kind of ruins my day when I get a big return, I have to admit. But I'm not going to roll over either, though. I mean, I feel like I'm trying so hard to do, right by my customers, but I'm not going to let them jerk me around. It's like, you can have the item or you can have the money, but you can't have them both. I feel like that's very fair. Okay. Another way to fight the high returns is to sell less expensive clothes. Now, that's a whole different business model. I mean, you have to sell a lot more cheap clothes or less expensive clothes than you do high-end clothes. That's for sure. So you got to think about that one. But it is another way. If someone spent $20 or $15 on something, they're less likely to return it. That's just a fact. But if someone spends $60 or $70 on something, and there's even a little bit wrong with it, they're more likely to return it. I mean, I can't document that, but that's been my experience personally when I'm watching the things that get returned. I rarely get anything returned that was $20, hardly ever. But I get a lot of things returned that were $40 or $50 or $60. It's almost like there's a point, like maybe over 30, where people start going, well, I think I'll get my money back. It's worth it to drive to the post office. I don't know. I don't know what they're thinking, but I have noticed that. Another reason or another negative about selling clothes, and you can probably guess this one, extremely competitive. It is very competitive. And especially if you're selling the real popular clothes that everybody wants, but the market's saturated. Like you might say, well, everybody loves Nike. I like Nike. Everybody likes Nike. So when I see Nike, I pick it up. Well, that may not be a smart decision. You really do have to do your research online and look up the numbers and see how many have been sold, and do your sell-through rate calculation to see how many are listed and how many are sold, because it's a flooded marketplace. And so I think the way to get around that negative, and this is what I've started doing, is I try to do a lot of aesthetic buying. And what that means is following the trends, like the little baby doll tops that the girls in their 20s and 30s love, and the teenagers. They're really very, it shows some skin. They're delicate materials, almost like lingerie. They're cut, usually low here. Very pretty, precious little tops, very trendy. Those will sell like hotcakes, and you don't have to buy the high-end brands. You can buy them cheaply for almost nothing. And if you don't spend very much, and it's unique. See, that's it. It's unique. Somebody will see it and they'll be like, ooh, I love that. And there won't be another top like it online. It's easy to compare. Oh, this is 501k jeans and this is 501k jeans, and they're both blue. They're exactly the same. So it's a race to the bottom on the pricing. Very competitive. And the way you opt out of that competitiveness is you buy unique pieces that you don't have to spend a lot of money for. And that's what I'm trying to buy, more unique pieces, unless I'm buying preppy clothes. And a lot of times with preppy clothes, it becomes a luxury situation. Like I will buy cashmere and linen to appeal to more of a classic preppy marketplace. And even though there's some out there, there's not a lot. There's not as much as you would think, just because they're luxury items and they don't get, thrown into the Goodwill as often. People probably, I don't know how I don't run across them as much as I would like. I find more linen tops than I do cashmere. The problem with cashmere is most of them have holes in them. It's a really delicate fabric, because it definitely, it's very hard to find one without holes. I'm so proud of myself. A couple of days ago, I found a pretty cashmere sweater, and it sold in like a day. And it didn't have a hole in it. I couldn't believe it. I kept holding it up thinking, am I missing the hole? There's got to be a hole in this. And it did not have a hole. And I was like, yes. So that was very nice. So I think to beat out the competitiveness, you have to work with high sell-through rate items where there's just a shortage and there's a high demand. And that way the competition doesn't matter. It's inconsequential because there's just not enough supply. And that is the way you beat out the competitive thing. And, the unique item is the other way. And also, I think if you do proactive sourcing, that you'll have so much material to work with for so little money. And I mean, I'm telling myself this. I have still got to go get business cards, and that's on my list of things to do this week. I'm going to start telling everybody I know and everybody I run into, and when I go sort, I'm going to start handing out my business card and saying, I'm interested in any of your used clothes. If you need help cleaning out your garage, there's probably people I can connect with. As people downsize, they need someone to help out. I'm going to start making my connections because unfortunately the Goodwill's competing with us now. They've got a bunch of stuff online, and a lot of the thrift stores have thought, well, um, you know, there's a lot of money to be made online. All these resellers are doing it on eBay and Poshmark, so why don't we do it? So we're competing with Goodwill now at a big level, and they're cherry picking, so there's not as much left in the thrift stores as there used to be. So it's going to be on us to do more at garage sales and flea markets and unique contacts. The idea is to find someone who's in a position to turn us on to some buys that we can make and basically cut that out before it gets to the Goodwill or whatever and get it ourselves. That's what we're going to have to start doing. Bulk buying, I think, is going to be key in the future. And also paying very little. Paying very little so that we can be competitive on price. I mean, if you pay $1 for something, and you get 15 for it, although I've tried to make $20 is my minimum. But if I get something for $1 and I can charge 15 for it, that's not so bad. I could live with that occasionally. I don't want that to be my business model, but in order to keep money flowing and sales going, and if depending on how things go with the economy, it's not the worst idea. I can drop it down $5 and then I just have to get it for nothing. And there again, I've got trendy in the con column too, because the reason it's a con for a lot of people is because they don't want to stay on top of the trends. And when I say stay on top of them, you have to be ahead of them. You really do. So that's pretty much all I have to say about the pros and cons of selling clothing. I love it. There are days I don't love it, but most days I like it a lot. And then I do my little 10% of other things just to kind of keep it interesting. So I hope this helped you some or gave you some ideas to think about if you're contemplating clothing or if you're just getting started. I've been in this for 2 years now. I've made top seller status. I have, really stocked up. I've got about 1,250 items in my inventory now. I'm a part-time seller, so that's probably about where I'm going to keep it. So anyway, have a great day. Happy holidays. Goodbye.